While controversial, this isn't a case of restricting registered sex offenders from living in long-term care facilities. It's about the right for residents and their families to know, so they can decide if that home is the right home for them.
I want to see her smile, but she's not going to do that for
If you live as long as Catherine Westmoreland,
no.
you've seen a lot, experienced a lot.
I've did a lot of washing and ironing.
In a century.
Taking care of my babies.
Now taking care of her.
Oh, where's Zoe, Courtney?
When family can't be there.
Happy birthday.
Is staff at her current nursing home.
As far as Mother is concerned, we've been dealing with nursing homes since about 2014.
Over the years, Mother lived in a few nursing homes. More recently, she bounced around quite a bit when Regis Woods in Louisville shut down in October. Mother eventually wound up on the other side of the river in Jeffersonville, temporarily, at Hillcrest Village.
However, after getting there and then realizing that they were unable to treat her based on her medical condition, that was a major concern for us.
What would have and should have been another major concern for family, who was also living with Mother in both homes. Do you recognize him? A sex offender registered to Regis Woods, and another one at Hillcrest Village.
I don't recognize either of them. Never have heard anything at all about these individuals, ever. No.
One convicted for first-degree rape of a 45-year-old, the other for sexual battery of a minor.
If someone is a sex offender, then that should be something that is disclosed.
Daughter Jill Westmoreland says neither of the homes made her aware. However, technically, she and the rest of the public could find both men on the sex offender registries in both Kentucky and Indiana.
Most of my facilities would tell you that they would not take that individual. The liability for that is way too significant.
Back in October, we asked the Kentucky Association of Healthcare Facilities about registered sex offenders in long-term care facilities. Since then, cross-referencing facility addresses with Kentucky's sex offender registry, we found at least 7 offenders living in at least 6 of the homes statewide. If they do take that person in, is it their responsibility to tell these residents and their families?
I don't know.
In a follow-up statement last week, the association reiterated that the safety of long-term care residents is of the highest priority, that all Kentuckians should have access to health care, and acknowledged that work needs to be done for residents who are hard to place. However, even though asked, the association did not address the issue of full disclosure of resident sex offenders. Previous to being a personal injury attorney, Brian Jasper,
his crime was committed in Virginia,
worked as a nursing home nurse.
His victim was 11 years old.
So in the firm, he now specializes in nursing home abuse.
And it appears that he is a resident in a long-term care facility in Bardstown, Kentucky.
Even he admits this is a new one for him.
It didn't really even occur to me until we started talking about it.
Jasper says he too believes homes should notify residents, their families, and even staff that a known sex offender lives there. And it shouldn't matter if that person preyed upon adults or if that person was convicted of possessing child pornography.
You have a right to know who you're living with. Not only are the residents vulnerable, there are small children that come to visit, and there are teenagers and young people that visit there too.
Although Jasper doesn't practice in Indiana, what we found there,
wow, that's a shocking number,
was much more glaring. At least 85 sex offenders living in at least 35 long-term care facilities. One facility in Bedford alone is home to 11 registered sex offenders. We also found at least 3 offenders with registered work addresses matching 3 different facilities.
That shocks me. If you have access to residents, you cannot have a history of violent crimes or sexual crimes.
The Indiana Healthcare Association issued its own statement, clarifying that criminal background checks of employees at long-term care facilities are required, and that laws prohibit employment if crimes of abuse, including sexual abuse, show up.
Show me your beautiful smile.
There you go. There you go. Now we talking.
Now 100 years old, Catherine Westmoreland is in a place
Hi, baby.
with no registered sex offenders. She and her family
Oh, I'll get the $100 bill next.
certainly hope this time it stays that way, or at the very least, they will know.
It needs to be communicated.
The latest research we could find points out that 7 states have laws requiring long-term care facilities to notify residents that a registered sex offender lives there as well. Again, in Kentucky and Indiana, it's not required.